It's one.
Can you press your record button there?
It should be on.
Oh, it is?
It was.
Welcome to the Board of Finance meeting for February 12th, 2026. For starters, we need to seat Eric for Walter Parcell on his request. He was late getting back from some travel. Do I have a motion for that?
A motion that we seat Eric and remove Walter Parcell.
I'll second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Lori?
I'm not voting.
You can't vote. I'm sorry. But hello. Okay, all opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much. It's unanimous. Now let's go right to present to speak. Anyone in the room who'd like to speak up right now or save it till later? Most of you are going to be speaking anyway. Okay, anyone online who wants to participate in present to speak? Can you see anyone? I don't. No. Okay, without further ado then. We have several presenters tonight.
Want to do the minutes?
Oh yeah, let's do the minutes. I'm sorry. These are the minutes for February 5th. They're on, they've been sent out to the town distribution and we're on the website. Anyone see any changes? Does everyone have a chance to look those over? You had some observations, but not changes, right? Okay. All right. We're going to accept the minutes of February 5th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, unanimous there. And all right. So we'll talk about some of the communications that we've received from the Board of Ed and also from the assessor, go down in correspondence, if that's all right with everyone. Okay, and so then we can just get right at it with. So the first up are the registrars. Hello.
No.
We're happy to see you here.
Regarding our anniversary of coming to the Board of Finance.
What's that?
You received our cover letter and budget.
We did.
So I guess we're here to answer any questions that you might have. We don't have tons of news to report. The new tabulators were successfully launched and seem to be working well. We're anticipating the launch of a new statewide voter registration system. It has been postponed twice. It was supposed to, the most recent date that it was supposed to go live was February 23rd. And that's since been postponed to after the March special elections. There are some towns that have special elections in March, so we're just kind of waiting for that. Other than that, it's pretty much business as usual.
Right before the meeting, Mr. Manel had asked us questions about early voting. He was interested in educating himself and getting some good information. Early voting is, as you know, came into effect a couple of years ago. It's state statute. We do not have any discretion on reducing the number of days or reducing the number of hours. As much we would like to do that, we are planning on more than likely a Democratic and a Republican primary come August. Early voting will be for 7 days. And then the general election, state election in November, early voting will be for 14 days. And as you can see, that is a big chunk, I think, of our budget.
All right. Please, Sue.
So with the early voting, is obviously having an impact on the budget. But it's not having a proportionate impact on your salaries. And I know you both are there a lot during those days. So
There's a stipend for the registrars included in the early voting, salary line item.
okay,
126, 300, 160 early voting salary. Includes stipends for the registrars for early voting.
okay. So that's good. I mean, it's not great, but I just wanted to make sure that we weren't taking advantage of your time
No,
and
it's something. It's
Yeah.
not,
it's not,
we worked 20 days straight
yeah,
for the November election.
yeah. And that
We were kind to ourselves this year and took a couple hours off here and there. But neither one of us had a full day off during that time,
yeah.
20 days.
And,
So
and I think in bigger towns, maybe it's different, but it's small, I don't
Larger
understand.
staff. If you
Yeah.
have a larger staff, which is also a legend,
Right.
you have to have somebody there. You have to have people that, you've got people in the office to be able to do same day registration. Well, not in the office, but there's 2 components to early voting. Because there's 14 days of same day registration as well as 14 days of early voting. So you have to have both things staffed, and we're fortunate in that we are a small town. And we can sit at the same table and kind of roll our chairs back and forth if
Yeah.
we need to.
But for 7 days
You
straight,
have to have it staffed, it has to be staffed.
yeah,
We're statutorily required. State statute requires registrars to be there. That could be our deputy, it could be an assistant registrar. We use our deputies to work because they're trained on the system. Whoever works early voting and same day registration has to be knowledgeable about the computer system as well. It's a conundrum for small towns.
yeah.
So do the deputies work in the office hours too? I mean, when you're actually in the office, or do they mostly work in the,
During early voting, we're all in the same room.
okay,
Our deputies fill in mostly as moderators.
okay.
Some as checkers and stuff, it depends on what your availability is.
I think the gap is, from what I've seen, is, and actually remarked on last year from the Board of Finance table, it's not this so much that's overlooked as if there's multiple referenda. You all do not have any reflection in your fees for that. Is that
That's
correct?
But there's no, to be clear, there's no early voting for referenda. But that's true.
Right, but I mean, the actual working the referendum, there's no, that's a new thing to us, so. I think just to be prepared, we probably ought to have some kind of an estimate from you all for that if we were able to address it. And I know you're not asking for that officially, but it just doesn't really seem right that add-on, and because there's a lot of prep, there's the same, preparation that you would do for the first time around. I'm just wondering if you guys could capture something that's reasonable there, if we're able to do
Yeah, we
it.
talked about it, but we certainly can and get that information to you.
Okay, thank you. Is there disagreement about that? that I should hear? Okay. All right, any other questions there? Just want to look at. Number one is. It's in this spreadsheet. I think it's in out of order here.
So Suzanne, so last year we had 3 referendums. Did they have an impact at all on your budget?
Yes,
How much of an impact?
a referendum costs us about $1,900 for election officials, to staff. And,
Ballots?
we had one budgeted. Sorry, we had one budgeted, we had 2 in the last fiscal year. The last referendum was in the current fiscal year, for which we had one budgeted, so we're now at 2. But what happened last year is a portion of the budget that we had put in for primary was cut to reduce our budget. And what remained from that in election officials covered the second referendum. So we did end the year in a favorable light.
Thank you. Are you trending otherwise this year all right as far as what? Okay. Any further questions? I think you can sort of see the point A to point B and why it's more expensive.
Stephanie, just one thing too, and you'll see when the 2 weeks from now, when the general government, more of the general government budget comes in, the same events like primaries and stuff also affect the town clerk's budget and the first selectman's budget as well because of advertising costs and ballots, things like that. There's like some of the mailers come from different budgets and things like that, so.
Okay,
All of the costs for absentee ballots are borne by the town clerk.
Yeah.
Legal notices, depending on the voting event, are either the town clerk,
Or selectman's office, yeah.
that's not,
okay.
So that conversation's already happened in the building, knowing that the primaries are planned.
What they are,
That
yeah.
has been added into the town clerk's budget for the absentee ballots. And we're still working on it.
Since there's not really a state-driven change in this second year, is your sense from that this is what the new normal is gonna be?
in terms of,
In terms of how much early voting and,
oh yeah, until the legislature changes the laws. Or stuff like the way it is, yeah,
okay.
unfortunate, but. What is it?
Yeah, there has been, when you've approached them and as other small towns have done though, how have they reacted when you've raised that issue?
The Registrar of Voters Association of Connecticut and the Secretary of State, supported legislation to reduce the days of early voting in the last legislative year. And it didn't get out of committee. It wasn't addressed. The Secretary of the State assures us that she will continue to put forth that, those proposals for legislation. And I'm sure that our, professional organization will as well. Because the consensus is that it's too much.
Okay, thank you for keeping us up to date on that, and as you always have all along this process, so we really appreciate that. Lori, did you have anything that you wanted to ask? You're good? Any other questions from the table?
I just wanted to mention that it currently does look as though there will be a dual primary in August. There's a number of candidates for both parties declared for the US House, the governor, lieutenant governor. So we're kind of keeping an eye on that. But it appears now as though there will at least be a primary for governor and, representative in Congress.
Suzanne, on the voting machines, seems like there's some lessening of costs as time goes by. Will that continue? For like training and programming and stuff like that?
The cost for coding, the contract is set in terms of maintenance and how much we have to pay in for the licenses, for the firmware and the annual maintenance. We're paying for, we paid for like half a year last year.
Yeah, the state
Based on when the contract was approved. The coding and programming is based on the voting events that we anticipate having. In a municipal year, that's gonna be more because it's a bigger ballot, basically.
Variable.
If you think about the size of the ballot, that's where the fluctuation comes in programming and coding costs. So they'll go down a little bit for this fiscal year because the state ballot is smaller, there's fewer offices on it, and for the primaries as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you both. Appreciate it. You guys ready for the next one? Doug's not here, but, did anyone have any issues about the treasurer's budget? I think he's feeling it's pretty much the same. The only thing, that we've noted before that I would continue to note is, really the placeholder for raises should be, unless there's something in addition to the job or whatever, should be 2.75%. That's the contractual rate of the town employees. And I don't, it's been, unless there's an argument, like I said, or additional job crunch or something, that we should not really exceed that.
So is there a reason why it's 3.1?
I don't know. I would have asked him if you were here, but it might just be that, something just that it wasn't well known enough when people did their budgets, because this isn't the first one that's had it, that a lot of people just rounded up to 3, but this is probably not going to be a rounding up year.
Yeah.
So, everything else there I think is pretty much the same. I did kind of wonder about bank fees, since that's been an issue in the past. Also, I should note that Sherry's not here tonight. She's out of town, so she'll be here next week's meeting as usual, but she's missing tonight, so we don't really have a resource to ask on that. And so it's an open question. Okay.
Jeff, what was your question about the treasurer? The budget?
Just that bank fees have been an issue in the past, because the bank was sort of, talking about, when we went to M&T, I think, they were talking about the second year they would charge us fees, and they haven't. I think we've negotiated around that, but it's just a question that he could probably easily answer.
Yeah, because, that was something that I was working on 2 years ago when I was there. Because we had been grandfathered in with previous banks, the bank has changed like 4 times. So hopefully he's done that, because it's a huge cost if those fees come through.
Right. I agree. Okay. Anything else on that one? So moving on to conservation.
Hi, I'm Kathy Demers, and
Hi,
I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. Tess Gustowski is here tonight as well. She is our treasurer. We have a request for the budget of $1,500, which is the same as last year and the year before. It's really to help us to fund the membership and conference fees for our commission members when we want to go to an educational conference, as well as programs and outreach that we do. We often partner with the recreation department and the library to provide some environmental education events. It also helps to pay for trail maintenance. We have multiple bridges and boardwalks at not only the Fenton Ruby Park, but also the properties off of Mason Road. And occasionally we need some funds for open space monitoring. So if we need to verify a border or boundary or put up new boundary signs, we use the funds for that. I do want to just mention that we're able to keep our budget fairly sparse because we have so many volunteers that help, and I want to acknowledge those volunteers. They come out and they help us to maintain the town's open space. They keep the trails clear. They repair and replace the bridges. And that even includes groups like the Boy Scouts. We have people that come out to help us remove invasive plants on all the open space properties. We have people that monitor and clean out our duck boxes. And the Girl Scouts installed and they maintain a pollinator garden at Fenton Ruby Park. So I want to acknowledge and thank all of those people because they really help us to keep the costs low.
that's quite a list.
Takes a village.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Great.
questions?
No, how long has it been that you've been at 1,500? Seems like a decade.
I think it probably is. Yeah. I mean,
And that's
we make it work.
right.
And we were lucky to get some ARPA funds a few years ago, so we were able to buy a significant amount of lumber with that so that we can, continue to upgrade and repair boardwalks and bridges. So that was very helpful.
Good. That's good. Any questions from the board?
Straightforward.
You have our appreciation. That's because managing volunteer forces is not always easy either, although you've got some good ones there that keep coming back and building on the past. So that's great.
Mhm. All right. And thank you for all of your volunteer work. I know that it's a lot of work during budget season.
Thanks. Okay. So, Fire Marshal
Yes.
Trevor, hi.
Oh, I apologize
Thanks.
for not being here last
Well,
week.
you had a good excuse, I think.
Well, unfortunate circumstances. So with my budget, I know you had a question about the 3.1% increase for the salary. Usually Donna always adjusted what I put in to match the town employees. So I opened it, and last year I had tried to adjust it myself and I threw the whole number off.
Okay, so we probably will adjust that around
Yes,
Q2 resubmit. That's understandable, given the finance office, given Donna's leave and everything. So I understand that.
And there's
So
no.
yeah, the other thing though is why did you not carry that over to
So I went
the
back
deputy or?
through the history of all the budget paperwork that I was given from the past fire marshal. The stipends decreased in about 2013 to where they are now, and they, looking at the trends, it's either been a small decrease or they remain flat for the history of the deputies' positions.
Do you know why? I'm trying to remember.
I do not, there's not It's broken between Excel spreadsheets and Word documents. I can go back again and see.
Well, so was it that there wasn't anyone in the deputy position at the time, or, and is there now? I don't.
There is,
And how much work are they doing compared to how much work
There's-
you're doing?
2 deputies, First Selectman McHugh, who's a deputy, along with Shane Schaefer. Generally, they're on call if I'm out of town or unavailable in my full-time schedule. So it depends on what filters down. Usually I can do the majority of what's needed to be done. The past selectman created a fire marshal group email, so now the town employees and anything that comes and goes to the group, so we're all aware of everything, instead of having myself to filter everything down, which has been like a help. The work is small compared to other towns around us. Do have a large amount of apartments, which are on an annual cycle, and then different businesses, depending if they serve liquor and what they're classified as, are on a 1, 2, 3, or 5 year cycle.
Mhm. So you have to actually go there and inspect and
Yes.
do a report and all that stuff.
Yeah, along with the complaints that come in through the building office,
Mhm.
issuing burn permits, the blasting permit for beggars.
Mhm.
And are the current 2 deputies, have they been, deputies for a year or more? Would you
Yes,
say?
you're just under a year.
Yeah, it was actually,
It'll be a year by July.
it was July 1st, I think. So it's just 7, 8 months. A note on the history, parts I remember of it quite a long time ago, and Stuart might be able to help confirm it, is when way back, probably 20, 25 years ago, I think the deputies actually had assigned lists for a while, or a group of work that was assigned to them.
There was a little bit, I think one veteran and I were doing.
Right.
And it was $1,000 back then.
Right.
I assisted with inspections of when the truck stop was going in, and had to do the fuel tanks, and the tick pump wasn't available, that sort of thing. So the work was similar to what it is today. You don't know what's gonna
Yeah,
come up.
and then when Dick Palmer over time kind of, I don't know if it was changes of deputies or whatever, he ended up doing more of the work, like after the truck stop was done and things like that, I guess himself. And he rolled that number back a little bit. And I'm not sure what's happened in all the years in between. Stuart was a deputy for a long time, so he may know more. But also, just for a point of clarification, not that it's a big number, but for this, at this current time, I am not collecting my stipend. Because I felt among some of the other stipends I'm eligible for in town, because I'm first selectman, I didn't feel I should be collecting that also. So I am not collecting my deputy fire marshal stipend.
Well, thank you for your service.
That little bit of money makes no difference anyway.
Is there any way, Troy, that you could sort of capture what the volume is for the deputies and whether they,
Yes, I can.
You know.
I can get that to you.
okay, thanks. And then if you, this is your budget, if you see a reason to, bump them up, then let us know.
Okay.
Cause I just don't want the historic sort of picture to maybe shortchange what we should be doing by them.
And we don't, it's happened a few times in other departments where we kept something flat and then they need to do a big increase to make it be market value. So if we're like way under what it's supposed to be and then we have to play catch up, that's
Yeah,
not better.
I can pull other towns that are similar to us and reach out to their fire marshals and get their salaries or stipends for their deputies.
Yeah, it would just be interesting to see how it's done. other places how to work is,
Good idea.
it's really a payment for work that's being done. And if there's not that much work, then I guess we don't need to, but, just wanna make sure we're being fair to everybody, so.
Well, I did issue a burn permit today, if that makes you feel better. Stephanie and I have to go upstairs for, CBA.
CBA, understood. Thank you very much. Anyone have a quick question for Mike?
You know where to find me.
Okay. We'll just call you on the house phone. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And then. Okay, so Stu, you ready?
Yep. Those who don't know, I'm Stuart Cobb and the emergency management director. You have copies of the. I think I'm proposing no change, right now. The biggest thing that's up in the air is on the EMD stipend was probably $6,000. Historically, 3,000 of that has been coming through federal money and gets administered by the state, and they would do a 50% match. So Wellington paid 3,000, the EMPG grant will pay another 3,000 for a total of 6. Due to a large variety of reasons, will probably not, well, let me take a step back. It is operated on the federal fiscal year, which begins and ends in October. So that always messes it up for everybody. They historically have also been 2 to 3 years behind our reimbursement. They keep saying, oh yeah, it's coming, and it does eventually. The new thing this past year is they've implemented a 100% electronic data collection portal for putting stuff into it. When I logged into it, it said that the EMD from Pomfret was our EMD. That's how we started out. So I could log in. I could log in, but I didn't have any rights to do anything because it didn't recognize me as the EMD. And lastly, the Attorney General for the state of Connecticut, along with a handful of other states, have sued the Trump administration because Trump has threatened to cut the EMPG funding. So we don't even know if that money is even coming down. And that was a little political lay of the land. If you take a state that's historically votes one party and you sue the federal government, I'll let you decide if they're going to give you the money or not. So, and the state of Connecticut relies on a lot of that same EMPG money. I know the last year's EMD conference in Hannah, they were very worried that they would have to lose position and such. So I have no guarantee that anything's coming in presently. When October hits, we have to reapply, and that may start up after that. My promise is I will not go over the $3,000 town cost on that. So if the federal money comes in, great. If it doesn't, I'll still work for the same 3,000 that the town's been paying for all along.
Thanks, and you'll still help us out and,
Oh, yeah, you do it all the
when
same,
we have,
all the same
when
stuff, yeah.
people are showering at Hall School or
Yeah.
whatever.
None of that, none of that.
Yeah. So there's a few things up in the air also. A large part of it was trying to get the reimbursement, and a former member of the finance office used to do a lot of that, and she's no longer there. And really no training to new folks coming in on how to administer that grant, plus the whole new online thing. And then you got someone appointed to talk to a lot of it has to do with, what check number did they write? When did they write it? When's the date of your last audit? Your employee identification number, the stuff that's, we felt all along is more of a finance office appropriately handled thing. And then that got moved to upstairs to the first selectman's administrative assistant. And now we're gonna have a uphill learning curve on that one too. So come October, we may have the money, we may not. But like I said, if that money that they're now still holding to the 3,000 for the town for the year. The other two, line items is, 2 years ago, an agreement was made between the school and, finance office or board of finance, I don't know, to move 50% of the maintenance for the hall school generator into the EMD budget. It'll vary year by year. It's been fairly stable. What you see there is a 50% bill for the annual maintenance. Some years it's maybe more. You know, if they come in and replace the belts or have to fix something on it, that may go up or down, but like with any other maintenance item, you never know what's what. The third one is eligible for EMPG. EMPG allows you to buy certain things. It's a very limited list. But some of them have to do with radios or equipment for the emergency operations center, and things like that. So the feds, again, it goes up and down. We've been as high as 10,000, as low as 6, and I think last year was 7 or 8. It varies every year. We never know what we're going to get. Is to leave that line item in there in case there's something that either the EMD or the fire departments wanted to purchase, we can get 50 cents on the dollar back through the CMPG grant. If the EMPG grant is in place and they fund it to an appropriate level. So that's kind of the number you see there, which I think was $2600. 2554. I think was the EMPG equipment for this fiscal year. We don't know if that's around or not, or to buy something that's eligible for that 50% reimbursement at some point. So that's a placeholder. Most of the times we don't spend it. 1 year, I think the supplement got a portable radio and some money came out of it. So that's the line explanation for the 3 line items.
Okay. Other questions? Do we pay any kind of a fee to Mansfield for, aren't we in some kind of a?
So there is a regional sheltering agreement that has been signed by the CEOs of Coventry, Mansfield, Ashford, and Wellington. And what we learned, there's a couple overnight sheltering events that we had at Hall School. It is very laborious to shelter people overnight. There's security issues and, there's concerns over some of the people that were in the shelter at that point. We called the state police. We'll drive through the parking lot once a night, kind of thing. And so then we try to get volunteers to stay up all night and do security, feeding issues, and the Red Cross cannot support a shelter in every town. They will not. They don't have enough people either. So the agreement takes place where if we have to do overnight sheltering, and assuming the roads to some degree are open so people can get there, they would start off in the Mansfield Community Center, and if they overflowed that, they would go to Smith High School and 2 gymnasiums there to shelter people there. There's also requirements now for pet sheltering, that they can't be in the same room as the people, but you do have to set aside areas for cats and dogs, goldfish, and anything else you can think of that people want to bring along. So Mansfield is fortunate where they have a much bigger budget and they have more paid staff that they can assign to running the shelter. So our goal would be to do what they call a center. So at Hall School, you have a center, might be open 18 hours a day, but if all you're trying to do is charge your phone, get some news, take a shower, get drinking water, that sort of thing is much better within our scope of being able to manage locally instead of every town on their own trying to do overnight shelters for a limited number of people. In terms of fees, it's expected that if large-scale sheltering went on, that FEMA, this is based on years past and it changes day by day now, FEMA would declare a federal emergency. It's kind of based on the scope and the total dollar loss of what's going on. And they, in the past, have paid 75% of the costs of the so-called emergency. You have to document your food costs, or if you have paid staff there on overtime, or so on and so on. After that is paid, then, they would be distributed among the towns in terms of what the net cost was running the shelter. Now, that depends, if it's a Wellington residents, say 10% of the people in the shelter are Wellington residents, we may have to, come up with 10% at the end of the day, but it's, months, if not a year away, till you figure out what you're getting from the feds and that sort of thing. So if something big happened, there would be some expenditures, just like if there's a big storm. Public Works can't predict that, but, the events in Milwaukee's where they spent, weeks clearing the roads, sometimes a day or two. And there's costs involved in that, and if you go over budget, then we come back to the Board of Finance and see if there's money available to, take care of that cost.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. I don't have any others. Do you have any questions for us?
No.
Okay. Thanks, Stu. Oh, just one thing I wanted to ask about the other thing. Is it possible you can put in for the federal stipend? Can you
No,
submit that?
well, it all goes through the state, and the state is big, the availability through the state is federal money. And so with the Attorney General suing the federal government, we don't know if that money's even coming in. It's not, in terms of doing the paperwork, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, like apply for it, yeah.
Yes, it's the first year of them doing it, and it's like any first year software, it's not straightforward. One of the things that is about, roughly speaking, a dozen classes I'm supposed to have taken, which I've already proved to them, gave them certificates probably 15 years ago. Now they want it all over again. And I gotta find certificates or go to FEMA's online thing and see what I can get
Okay.
to prove it, but I'm having to redo it all over again. There's a whole list of all these prerequisites that, which, some of them are paperwork, and most of them are paperwork, and it's satisfying them to their level. The other side of this, one of the last storms we had, let's go back probably 2-3 years ago. We had about 40 locations in town with trees and wires down kind of thing. Town crews out doing what they can, as well as working overtime. They had their tree contractor in. The Eversource is working with us, and it got declared a federal emergency. And Donna submitted the paperwork, but she'd been through several of the storms before. She knew how to, keep track of the costs and all that. We could not prove to their satisfaction that we did anything. They wanted to count the number of trucks that hauled brush up to the brush pile. It's like, they can take a while to get how many cubic feet in each brush over.
Wow, a lot of these.
Show me the stump where you cut the tree down. Was that tree over the road or not? We ended up getting nothing. So it's a lot of bureaucracy, and and the only net cost we had was overtime for public works, which, when you're outside your budget, it's a lot of money, but the grand scheme of things, would have been great to get that money and help balance our year-end budget.
Sure.
But we could not prove to the representative for that storm from FEMA that we did anything. And the EMPG thing is a similar kind of thing. It's a paperwork exercise that changes annually, and we do that best we can go from there. But sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Okay. Thanks for explaining that. All right. I think, did you, well, we're gonna go through correspondence first, so, because I sent you a couple things. One, let's talk about the assessor's memo. Where I got that. Unfortunately, relays a rather flat picture for the grand list, the 2025 grand list, which, as you know, the taxable list that's tied to the 26-27 fiscal year budget. And I did ask the assessor if she could be available for the board next week to discuss or to ask any questions that we may have. I asked her for a 5 or 10 year, preferably 10, but 5 if that's harder to do. Sort of comparison, sort of fever chart to show some trending on the grand list because, as you know, last year we got really whacked and for myriad reasons, but it definitely affected the overall budgeting picture, and it was one of the contributing factors to, in my view, going to 3 referenda. So I think it's good for the Board of Finance to have a clear understanding of where we are on a trending scale. We know that the business climate and the commercial climate is pretty dry. But I did notice in her memo a couple of things that I asked her about, and if you want to hear more about it, I can ask her to come back. One was that I asked about there's 7 new homes completed. Most were only partially constructed for the previous grand list. And then under that, she kind of gives an update on the crumbling foundation picture. 57 foundations in town have been replaced, but 44 houses still are on the rolls for reduced assessments. So I was asking her, what's the end game there? What's the pace for getting those houses back on the rolls and addressed for their issues? Well, the money sunsets the state money sunsets in fiscal year 2030. But there are a lot of people claiming it and using it. So there's not, I don't think that there's a specific plan for, how many will roll through when, but we could ask her for more information about that if you want to know more about it, because of course we've kind of been ground zero for a lot of that activity, and a lot of people you can see around town, a lot of people have already addressed their situation with their houses, but it's also still with us and likely to be with us for a while. I'm just going to mention, a couple of things that carry over. One is the wholesale change that the state legislature passed for the way vehicles are valued in a significantly different way that has saved pretty much everyone on vehicle tax, unless you bought a brand new vehicle in the year that we did it, and then that's outside the process. That's something that we're going to be living with now. Last year was the hit that, came at a rough time, but this year, we're still at that lower valuation on motor vehicles. So I think that contributes to the overall flatness, of the grand list. Because it's not like we're recovering that or, there's a gushing of a bunch of buying new cars right now. So, let's see. And, so there were, I think there were, 7. We originally thought it was 8 or 9. 7 100% disabled vets who qualified for the exemption of their house valuation or house assessments, and that's up from 5 in 2024. So that's a contribution that's that we talked about last year, because we had quite a few more that then. And so that the one that talks about the biggest contributor to the decline, that's in the commercial property category. Cara Fishman told me that's that they reclassified some land that they'd been taxing that had a cell tower on it. You can't have multiple purpose use on a piece of land that has cell towers on it, or a cell tower, apparently. And we were taxing them as if they could develop the rest of that property for other uses. And so she set that needle downward, and that had a large impact on the commercial return on assessed valuation. So, what's that?
Nothing.
Was it just a little comment you thought you could get away with?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the main thing. I mean, you can see from the charts, they're kind of faint and really small type, but the bottom line is with the exemptions out and everything else, and this is for property, real estate, vehicle, it's all forms of property and personal property. The bottom line is the grand list would be $658,693,511. So that's maybe not final, but that's as close as we have right now, which is the time in the budget year when we hear that information. So that we can raise this again too when we do we hear the financial presentation from the finance office, which is 3 weeks from now or something like that. It's on our budget season calendar. And the other communication was, well, first of all, any questions from that? Do you all, would you all prefer that the assessor come to our meeting next Thursday for further questions, or do you see anything else to ask at this point?
Is there any way we could get a grip on how people are progressing with their restorations? You know, the 44 houses that are still left with, bad foundations.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if that would really help us, but
yeah,
it might be informative to know whether or not, how many things are scheduled for this year.
right. We can find that out.
Yeah, and maybe just what the value is, what the number, maybe the average, cost, because we're talking thousands of dollars for each of these households.
Right.
When it comes down to tax bills, so we're, times 44, let's say it's $5,000 a household that they're reduced by. That's times 44, that's a couple $100,000.
$250,000.
Yeah. So if they're getting fixed at a rate of 6 per year, we're still gonna be doing this for a really long time.
Yeah, I would kind of like to know what the target is. Who oversees that though? Is that the assessor or someone else?
Well, there is somebody who works at the Capital Region Council of Government, whose job is to understand what's going on with the whole program and town by town sort of information. You probably know, sorry,
Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, I'll keep you up to date, if she, when and if she can give us she thought she could do that comparison, from 10 years back. I think it's valuable information, but you let me know if something else occurs to you there. And then I also received a communication from the superintendent saying the board needs some more time for looking at this fiscal year budget shortfall that it evolved from an additional special needs student.
2, isn't it?
I think it's 7, and we had it in for
5.
6.
Oh, maybe it was 5.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's about a $200,000 gap. And they have that, some of that could be covered perhaps by the non-lapsing fund, but honestly, there's gonna be a whole lot of claim on the non-lapsing fund for the fiscal year that we're planning the budget for. So they're sort of debating, is it, is it something that we should exhaust that fund for now? It would only be able to pay a portion of it anyway. But still, or is it something that we're gonna need more in the fiscal 26-27 budget for offset? Because we have some other things there, that, mostly state funding shortfalls from what we're used to or what we've been told we would get. And there's I know that the Board of Ed is drafting a letter to our state rep to just kind of almost an entreaty about how much state mandates and other things have contributed to what the education toll is, and yet they're not fully funded on things like education cost sharing. As you know, last budget year, it was sort of a midnight last day of the legislature passage of the ECS money, and we were flat, and we've been flat for the last 3 years that I recall. I haven't researched beyond that, but so there's things like that a lot of towns in Connecticut are dealing with right now. And so sorry to make it such a cheery report. Can we go to present to speak? Might as well.
Good boss.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Good boss.
No, if you guys, I just want to make sure that you've had a chance to say what you want to say, or,
Yeah.
okay, all right, let's do that. Anyone present to speak? Anyone online who would like to speak? Well, thank you very much for everyone who did all the work and preparation and came here, and also keeping us all safe, even on nights when you have to present budgets. I know Alex came in for, even with that derailment, but had to go back and do that later in the really kind tropical weather we've been having. So
It was something.
Are they done with that yet?
No.
I heard it takes 7 hours to get one car back on the track.
They're all upright, but they have to remove all the products.
Oh, jeez.
which was in various forms of solidity. So yeah, right. Solidification and everything.
Did they
Kind
get
of like
their
a
road?
science project.
Did they get their road into the accident site?
Yes, that they got.
Thanks. Okay. Anything under good and welfare? Thanks for doing what you do and preparing what you do. And next week is Board of Ed, and after that is the town budget. I think this is the steep part of the ramp. So so the more you can prepare and like really worry the details a little, the better. And thanks very much. Meeting is adjourned, and I don't think we have to have a Russian, do we?
No, you do not.
Thanks.
Bye all.
Bye, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.